Jacob Hawthorne is currently a man standing on the precipice of total psychological collapse, and I am watching his descent with a mixture of absolute horror and profound sympathy. The trauma he is carrying from the plasma ring sting operation is not just a heavy burden. It is a suffocating weight that is actively destroying his sanity. Derek Baldwin did not just die in the line of duty. He threw himself into the path of a bullet that was meant to end Jacob's life. That kind of sacrifice leaves a mark on a person's soul that can never be erased. When Brian Baldwin, Derek's grieving father, walked into the police station and flat out refused to shake Jacob's hand, you could actually see the last remaining fragments of Jacob's self-forgiveness shatter into a million pieces. He is drowning in survivor's guilt, and his desperate, clawing need for vengeance has officially blinded him to reason. This brings us to the incredibly dangerous, high-stakes gamble that Jacob is orchestrating alongside Smitty. Based on the latest clues, they are planning to play an open-hand game of psychological warfare to lure the Impaler out of the shadows. Smitty, utilizing their formidable skills as a journalist, is going to write a bombshell, scorching article that directly insults the Impaler. The plan is to publicly humiliate the crime boss, branding them as a pathetic, spineless coward who hides behind plasma rings and low-level thugs, while truly brave men like Derek pay the ultimate price. Jacob and Smitty are banking entirely on the Impaler's arrogance. They are using this criminal's massive ego as bait. But let me ask you this, is an ego-driven, ruthless crime lord really someone you want to provoke in such a public and humiliating manner? I am sitting here screaming at my screen because this feels exactly like poking a sleeping venomous dragon with a toothpick. The Impaler did not build a massive, highly illegal black market plasma empire by backing down from a public challenge. They built it through fear, intimidation, and absolute brutality. Jacob is assuming that the Impaler will make a reckless mistake out of anger, but he is fundamentally underestimating the calculated malice of the enemy he is trying to trap. While Jacob and Smitty are busy laying this incredibly dangerous trap, we have another major power player making moves on the board, Joey Armstrong. The casino owner is not a man who tolerates his territory being encroached upon. The Impaler's plasma ring operations have crept far too close to Joey's established empire, and Joey is officially issuing a stern warning. We already know that Joey and Randy Parker came face to face with the Impaler on June 5, and the absolute shock on Joey's face when he recognized the Impaler's identity spoke volumes. My prevailing theory, and I know many of you agree with me, is that the Impaler is none other than Heather Armstrong, Joey's own sister. If the Impaler is indeed Heather, Joey's warning carries a heavy, twisted familial weight that complicates this entire narrative. Joey does not want the intense police heat that the Impaler's reckless actions are bringing to Fairmont Crest, especially not with Jacob already sniffing around his casino basement and suspecting Joey of being the ringleader. Joey is desperately trying to protect his turf, his illicit businesses, and, most importantly, keep Vanessa McBride safe from the inevitable crossfire. Vanessa has already issued a desperate SOS to Danny Dupree because her anxiety over Joey's criminal ties is pushing her to the breaking point. Joey needs the Impaler to back off before his entire world collapses. But here is where the narrative threads tangle into a deadly, inescapable knot. Joey is explicitly telling the Impaler to back off and lay low, while Jacob's provocative article is practically screaming for the Impaler to attack and make a public spectacle. Will the Impaler listen to Joey's pragmatic, business-minded warning, or will the sheer, unadulterated disrespect of Smitty's article blind them with an uncontrollable rage? My bet is entirely on the rage. This leads me to wonder if Joey's warning might actually backfire spectacularly. By feeling pressured and challenged from all sides, both by the police and by the local underground boss, the Impaler might feel backed into a corner where they absolutely must make a violent public statement to reassert their dominance and instill terror over Fairmont Crest. Now, let us dive into the horrific, chilling detail that has completely consumed my thoughts: the delivery of the broken firefighter badge. Imagine the sheer terror of this scene. The article goes live. The internet in Fairmont Crest is buzzing with the scandalous allegations, and Smitty is sitting in the newsroom, perhaps feeling a fleeting, foolish sense of victory. Then, A mysterious package arrives. Inside is a firefighter's badge. Derek's badge snapped violently and deliberately in half. When I think about the implications of this specific detail, my blood literally runs cold. Do you realize the magnitude of this threat? Where on earth did the Impaler get Derek's badge? We know for a fact that Brian Baldwin gave Ashley Morgan Derek's Medal of Honor and a special cat rescue badge during his heartbreaking visit. If the Impaler has Derek's badge, there are only two terrifying possibilities, and both of them spell absolute disaster. Either the Impaler breached the highly secure police evidence locker, proving that Elon Hawthorne's precinct is deeply compromised and utterly defenseless, or, and this is the option that makes me sick to my stomach, the Impaler broke into Ashley Morgan's home to steal it. If the Impaler got that close to Ashley, it proves that they have zero boundaries and are willing to target the innocent, grieving loved ones of their enemies. Ashley is already gut-wrenched over Derek's death and furious at Grayson Perez for his role in it. Imagine the psychological devastation of knowing the killer was inside her sanctuary. Breaking that badge in half is not just a simple threat. It is a profound desecration of Derek's memory and a direct, chilling message to Jacob. I can reach absolutely anyone you care about, and I will break them just like I broke this piece of metal. The exact moment Jacob lays eyes on that broken badge, the dreadful realization will hit him like a runaway freight train. He and Smitty vastly, fatally underestimated the sheer, unadulterated brutality of their enemy. They thought they were playing a clever game of chess, moving pieces on a board, but the Impaler is playing with a flamethrower. This isn't just about luring a criminal out of hiding anymore. It is about a monster who is perfectly willing to burn the entire city to the ground to protect their pride and their empire. I can already vividly see the sheer panic in Jacob's eyes as he realizes his arrogant, grief-fueled plan has just painted a massive, glowing target on Smitty's back. And then comes the explosive climax of this terrifying fury. The Impaler does not just send a message and retreat into the shadows. They show up to deliver the final blow in person. I am envisioning a full-scale, horrifying assault on the newsroom. A place dedicated to journalism, truth, and community transformed in mere seconds into a bloody, chaotic battlefield. I can picture the fluorescent lights flickering and dying, the deafening sound of glass shattering as bullets fly, and the terrified screams of innocent reporters echoing through the halls. The Impaler, perhaps flanked by their most lethal, heavily armed enforcers, stepping through the debris and the spilled ink with one singular terrifying goal: to silence Smitty permanently and make an example out of the journalist. This is the exact kind of high-stakes, heart-stopping drama that Beyond the Gates excels at, and it perfectly mirrors the chaotic, destructive energy of the tornado that is slated to hit Martin Richardson's gala on the very same night. The entire town of Fairmont Crest is about to be plunged into darkness and violence. In the midst of this newsroom bloodbath, Jacob will find himself face to face with his ultimate nightmare made flesh. The Impaler will corner Smitty, holding a lethal weapon to the journalist's life, right in front of Jacob's desperate eyes. This is the moment of truth. This is the agonizing, impossible choice that the writers have been meticulously setting up since the warehouse stage. Jacob will be violently forced to choose between finally capturing the monster who orchestrated Derek's death or abandoning the mission to save the life of his best friend. It is a cruel, poetic, and utterly devastating parallel to the warehouse incident. Derek chose to sacrifice himself to save Jacob. Now, the universe is demanding to know who Jacob will choose to save. Let us deeply analyze Jacob's psychology in this agonizing split second. If he keeps his weapon raised and lunges for the Impaler, he might finally get the justice he so desperately craves. He could fulfill the dark, heavy promise he made to himself and to Derek's memory. He could end the plasma ring once and for all. But the inevitable cost of that justice would be Smitty's life. Can Jacob truly live with the blood of another innocent person on his hands? His PTSD is already tearing his mind apart, causing him to alienate Naomi and push away the people who love him. If Smitty dies because of a reckless plan that Jacob orchestrated and pushed for, I genuinely believe it would destroy Jacob's soul completely. There would be no coming back from that. Naomi would lose him forever to the suffocating darkness of his own guilt, and he would become a hollow shell of the dedicated officer he once was. On the other hand, if Jacob drops his weapon, surrenders his advantage, or abandons the pursuit to physically pull Smitty out of the line of fire, the Impaler escapes. The leader of the plasma ring vanishes back into the criminal underworld. The terror continues, the black market thrives, and Jacob will have to look at himself in the mirror every single day knowing he had the ultimate villain in his sights and actively let them walk away. It is a lose-lose situation of epic proportions. But honestly, looking at the core of who Jacob is, I firmly believe he has to choose Smitty. The absolute core of Jacob's trauma is the agonizing fact that he couldn't save Derek. He cannot, under any circumstances, allow history to repeat itself. He has to prove to himself that he can be the protector he failed to be at the warehouse. He will choose life over vengeance, even if it means the Impaler lives to fight another day. But what exactly happens to Smitty in this chaotic scenario? I have so many conflicting theories about Smitty's ultimate fate. Possibility 1. Smitty survives the initial attack but is critically injured in the crossfire, perhaps falling into a deep coma, leaving Jacob to agonize by yet another hospital bed praying for a miracle. Possibility 2. The Impaler doesn't just try to kill Smitty but actively kidnaps them, dragging the journalist into the dangerous criminal underworld as a high-value hostage to ensure Jacob backs off the investigation permanently. Imagine the dramatic tension of Jacob having to go completely rogue. Imagine him stripping off his police badge, defying Chief Elon Hawthorne's orders, and hunting down the Impaler outside the confines of the law to rescue Smitty. That would be a phenomenal character arc. Let's also heavily consider how this horrific event impacts Martin Richardson. Smitty is Martin's past love, the person who helped Martin understand his true self. If Smitty is brutally attacked or killed, how will Martin react? Martin is currently hosting a massive, highly publicized political fundraiser, rubbing elbows with Genoa city elites like Victor Newman and Jack Abbott. A devastating tragedy involving Smitty could completely derail Martin's political aspirations, shatter his focus, and send him spiraling down a dark, vengeful path of his own. The ripple effects of this newsroom attack would touch every single family in Fairmont Crest, from the Duprees to the Richardsons. Ultimately, this entire explosive storyline proves one undeniable thing. Jacob Hawthorne is playing a deadly game he is simply not equipped to win. His profound grief has completely blinded him to the collateral damage of his actions. He thought he was the clever hunter laying a trap, but the Impaler has effortlessly flipped the script, proving that they are the ultimate apex predator in Fairmont Crest. I am sitting on the absolute edge of my seat, practically biting my nails down to the quick, waiting to see how this explosive, bloody confrontation plays out. Will Jacob find a sliver of redemption, or will his unquenchable thirst for vengeance cost him everything he has left in this world? We will just have to keep watching, but one thing is absolutely certain: the gates of Fairmont Crest will never be the same.